Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another Snap Judgment review. This is a really interesting one, but before we get into it, we got to do a little disclaimers. Number one, this is a Snap Judgment review because I only get about 5 to 10 hours with the game. I'm just trying to give you an idea whether you're going to enjoy it right off the bat. So with that in mind, coupled with the fact that I think video games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I'm not going to give a score to this review. Instead, I'm going to tell you what it is in its overall. Then I'm going to tell you the pros and the cons of the game or DLC that I'm looking at. And those will be my point of view, as all reviews have to be. And then I will tell you whether I will be sticking with the game or content outside the purposes of this review. So, with all that out of the way, let's get into it. What am I reviewing today? So, I thought this would be a lot of fun. I recently purchased the mod for Skyrim called the Bard's College expansion mod. And basically, this is a mod. It costs $10 or 1,000 creation club points or whatever. And basically what it does is it makes another faction out of the Bard's College. So it gives it the intricacies of like the Thieves Guild or the Companions or something along those lines. Yeah, and then I jumped in. And I decided... So Snap Judgment Review is not quite fair since I've played Skyrim probably more than any other game I've ever played in my entire life. But, yeah, nonetheless, I've only got about 5 hours with the Bard's College part of it, so I'm going to give you the Snap Judgment Review of that mod. And this is my first time reviewing a mod, so I'm kind of excited about this, honestly. Yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, so what is the Bard's College expansion? This is an expansion that you spend 1,000 Creation Club points for, and it turns the Bard's College into a full-fledged quest line slash faction that you can work for. A la the Companions, the Thieves Guild, the College of Winterhold, those kind of things. Which previously the Bard's College was just a place where you got a couple of quests, nothing really huge or in depth. This mod expands on it. It allows that college to have different professors that you have to talk to that teach you different things. It also increases the number of mechanics in the game, which we're going to get into. And it has a whole quest line centered around shouting and voices that is very interesting. So what it starts off with is you have to go to Solitude. You have to go to the Bard's College in Solitude. You have to do the original Bard's College mission. That's how you have to get through that first. Once you get through that, if you haven't done the first two big quests of the main story, such as warning Whiterun about the dragons, and then going to the top of the mountain to meet the Greybeards, then it makes you do that. Basically because the main quest line of this story revolves around shouts. And almost kind of reworks them in a way to be more of a magic than less than just like a weird extra ability you have. Either way, once all of this is completed, you meet this woman named Helvana, who is the understudy of one of the big wigs over at the college named Seldrig. I think I'm saying his name wrong. And Seldrig knows you have the voice. He knows you're a Dragonborn, and there's something going on with Seldrig. I am not far enough into the game to go into it. I don't want to spoil things for this game since you're going to play it. But Seldrig gives you a lot of stuff as you quest for him that rework shouts from kind of like a top-down thing, giving you a lot more versatility with them. First of all, he allows you to create something called a resonating shout, which kind of ups the abilities of your shouts. In addition to that, he also teaches you how to create chants, which are these series of shouts put together, that if you do them, the shouts all happen right away. Boom, 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 boom. Without you actually being exhausted. So it's kind of like a super shout ability. But that's not where it ends, because you're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, but I didn't necessarily want to do shouts for the bard stuff, which I think is really cool. I think it's a good idea to use the shouts, to center the shouts on the main storyline. But I want to play music and do bard stuff. And I am here to tell you that is not skimped on either. There are 3 professors that you can work for. One of the professors is basically just like a map icon character. You give a donation and they tell you where a word wall is, which is like so that you can get a new shout or something along those lines. But then there's another professor who will teach you how to play instruments, and your characters will actually be able to play instruments. I'm going to try and get that sampling in here, as well as the the Duel of Wits sampling towards the end. So after I'm done talking, watch it for samplings of those. But once he teaches you how to play instruments, you can actually play instruments while walking around, while jumping, while making all your motions. So you can actually play your companions into battle and give them bardic inspirations. Depending on the musical instrument you're playing is how much of a bonus the people around you get. It really changes the nature of how combat works in the game. Especially since there are tons of mods out there. I would definitely recommend getting another mod, another companion mod, maybe Inigo, which is the one I have, or some other companion mod that maybe bypasses the follower system, so you have more than one follower, and you can kind of make a party. But you could just be my character was a crazy fluter. I went into this huge battle with necromancers, and he's just standing behind them playing his flute, allowing them to kick ass. It's very cool how this works. And how that instrument stuff works. I thought that was a really cool add. Not to mention the fact it allows you to busk, which means you can go to towns and just play music for money. I think this is really cool. It really kind of simulates that bardic thing. But we're not done there. There's 2 other types of mechanics that you get. One of them is the emissary, which we'll get into in a second. I really enjoy, and the other one's the Duel of Wits. Duel of Wits is what everybody wants to know about. It's kind of the rap battles of the bards. Basically what it is it's kind of like an insult contest against somebody else. This mechanic was interesting. I kind of hated it first, but now it's kind of grown on me. Basically how it works is you have to say, one of you says an insult to the other person. Then the other person has to retort, and when they retort, it has to be an insult itself. It has to counter whatever the person's saying, but it has to rhyme. And that's really the trick, is it has to rhyme. With that being said, what ends up happening is you'll say an insult, and if they can't come back, you get a point. The first person who gets 3 points wins, and if it ends in a 2-2, it's a tie. There's always a bet, depending on how skilled the person you're taking on is. What's interesting about this is how they work the insults, because I was really like, is this going to go off my speech skill? Like, how is this going to be skilled? What it does is it works on the normal dialogue system. Somebody says something, you pick a response. However, the responses you pick, you learn them from other duels of wits, other insult contests. So when you meet somebody and they beat you, yeah, it sucks. You lost that money, but you probably also learned a couple of retort insults, because if you retort successfully, you stop them from getting a point. Not only that, you also add in this kind of level of cultural background. So like you can learn culturally specific insults, like a cultural insult from the Nord or from the orcs. If you use that on a species that isn't a Nord or a species that isn't an orc, they don't know how to respond and they'll lose. So there is this kind of like double layered level to it that I've really enjoyed. I like the fact, I don't like losing at anything, I like being good at things, but I like the fact that losing allows you to kind of learn something. And what's really cool is it also gives you this reason, because you can participate in a rap battle with one person once a day. And this expansion adds at least one person to every bar who will rap battle you. So I keep calling it rap battle, but duels of wits. So you can kind of go around the map to different taverns, like redoing the insult contest to get more. You kind of quest for those insults, and I think that is a really cool, unique, interesting system. I love the idea of giving me a reason to travel around the map other than just go into this dungeon or retrieve this object. Like, questing for knowledge is kind of the essence of a bard, and they actually kind of manage to make it work here. You're either questing to get words of power for your shouts, you're questing to get insults for your insult contests, or you're questing, and this is more of a fetch thing, you're questing for an instrument to have the ability to play instrument, which is how you learn how to play instruments. You have to acquire certain instruments for other professors, and then he will teach that to you. Not only that, though, we're not even done. There's a whole new skill system. The skill system, how they do it is a little weird. They do it weird because you can't really mess with that, like, in the clouds constellation kind of thing that Skyrim does. So what they do is, when you reach a place called the Sanctuary, again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but in the Sanctuary there is this wall that has dots kind of lit up. And you can put what's called bardic inspiration into it. You gain bardic inspiration by doing bard things. So you're actually gaining skill points on another level. God, I almost wish Skyrim worked this way just normally for like magic or physical or whatever. It was so cool to be able to like busk and get inspiration to put into my bardic skill points. And these bardic skill points are awesome. They allow you to play music and help people. They also allow you to generate less threat to the enemies when you're playing music, so they won't attack you. But if you want to go the other way, you can boost your shout powers with it. It's very cool stuff. And then finally, it adds the emissary system to the game. Again, something really cool. This is another level of the Bard's College where basically you're hiring a bard to do your conversational dirty work, so to speak. Basically as maybe a politician or a courtier or an agent of some sort. The emissary is all about talking to people and getting information out of them, and this is a really interesting system too. I've only unfortunately gotten to do one of the missions, but I'm really excited to explore this. Basically, you talk to a woman and she explains, like, depending on how they respond, you have to respond in a certain way, and if you respond in a certain way, you get more information out of them. If you respond in the wrong way, they kind of backpedal. So it's this kind of like game of empathy, and just kind of taking their responses for what they are and trying to figure out the best way to respond to them. Very cool new mechanic as well. It's cool because I've never, at least in the one experience I had, there was no point where I was like, oh, this thing that I said should have worked and didn't. It's not necessarily clear, but if you're smart about it, you can pick up on subtle tones. And subtlety is not always Skyrim's strong suit. And I think that's really amazing here. So, all right, we're running a little bit behind. I really wanted to talk about this. So let's get into the pros and cons. Pro, right off the bat, new skill system, new mechanics. How can you go wrong with this? I love any time somebody adds new mechanics and skills, not just content to Skyrim. This is a whole new way to level up your character, a whole new way to play your character. It gives you potential new build options for your character, and it allows you to kind of work a different path with your character that you wouldn't do in Skyrim. Personally, I think it's one of the few mods that actually gives you the ability to play a support character. Yes, you can have more than one follower now with the right mods, but if you're playing a magician, it's all point and click, and it is so easy to end up shooting your guys in the back with ice or fire. With this and playing music and deciding what music I'm playing in the background, I'm actually supporting them, I'm actually helping them, especially if I give myself a bunch of like side support summon creature things, which is what I've been doing. It makes for a very interesting, cool character build. The other thing I do want to shout out is they added some new clothes. This isn't mentioned a lot online or anything, but you get it after joining the Bard's College for free. The hat's a little silly, but I mean, you're a bard, so you're kind of supposed to look a little silly. I'm wearing it in most, with the exception of the hat, I'm wearing the outfit in most of the capture footage here, so you could see it. But all of the abilities give you, all of the items give you kind of a little ability that goes with the bard. Like more money when playing music, better speechcraft, Your shouts recover quicker, that sort of thing, which is really cool. All right, let's jump into the other thing. The other thing I want to talk about, and this is not just a pro but a con, and I'm going to explain why. So I'm going to kind of dovetail into it. This game interweaves with the original story content up to the Greybeards. All right, so if you go straight to the Bard's College, you get the normal Bard's mission, which is like go find this like original tale or whatever, which is a hard mission at level 1. Trust me, I did it. It was not super fun, but I managed to get it accomplished. Once that happens, you meet this woman named Helvanna, and she basically says, and then you meet Sledrig or whatever, but he basically says, you have the potential, but you're not there yet. You need to go tell Whiterun about the dragons are back. And basically he puts you into that first like hour and a half of the story content of the original game. Actually, it was more like 2 hours. And it's just a little annoying. It's great and annoying at the same time, because what I found cool about it is it gave me different motivations to do the original quests, which made them feel a little new to me, which I kind of liked. I gave different responses to questions because of it. I conversed with the characters differently because of it. And I thought that was a really interesting way to do things. The downside, and now we will begin the cons, is that you have to do them. And if I'm starting a new character and I just want to do the Bard's College, I don't necessarily want to do the Whiterun thing, which I have done 4,000 times, or climb those steps. I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm not doing the main storyline, I almost never go to the Greybeards, because I hate climbing that mountain, especially with the survival mod. That I almost always play on since they released it as part of the Anniversary Edition. I hate climbing that mountain. It's the worst. So I don't like that I had to do them, even though it kind of gave me a better reason to do them. But again, just to jump back into pro territory, one thing that this game does really well is when it gives you that new character, and it gives you that new motivation, and it allows you to truly play a character differently. No sword swiping or necessarily arrow shooting or magic spell casting, and it gives you this kind of like party management kind of support ability. It makes you think about the character differently, and it makes the things you've done 1,000 times different. Right now, one of the things I'm doing, I'm not even doing it for the Bard College. I'm doing it to own the manor in Solitude, and I'm trying to become a Thane in Solitude. I've done that before, but it feels different because I'm doing it for different motivations, and I think that is really, really cool. So my next con is probably, it's a weak one. This is going to cost you $10. Look, I want the modders to have money. I'm not saying I don't, but I got to point out the fact that in basically a world of free mods, this actually costs money. I mean, there are other mods that cost money, just not a ton of them. And this is one of the more expensive ones. Like $10 is pretty expensive for a mod, at least for Skyrim. But I would say that, you know, even though I'm listing this as a con, I got my money's worth, top down. Like, I do not regret that $10 expenditure at all. My next con is probably my biggest con, and that is the lack of info that they put so many new mechanics into this game, right? Sometimes it's hard to figure out what's going on. Like, I kept collecting Bardic Inspiration. I had no idea what to do with it. Like, just no idea what to do with it. And the character, the character who kind of runs the sanctuary, again, trying not to spoil things, who tells you everything about the sanctuary, never really explains that you have to go up to this mural and like use skill points. I found it online. I found the answer online. There's other things like playing music around your characters. They have this little like musical thing start to dance around them. I didn't even know I could play music to help them until I kind of researched what that was. And they don't tell you that right away. They just tell you how to take your how to play it, how to take it out, and how to unequip it. Like, that's all. So, like, there is kind of a lack of... They add all these new mechanics, but since the game itself has no real support for those mechanics, there is no real tutorial for how to use said mechanics, other than unless some in-game character tells you how to do it. And they don't always, which is a little frustrating. Even with the Duel of Wit, like, it took me 2 or 3 duels of wits to really understand that, oh, I'm collecting insults here to use later. And stuff like that. I couldn't figure out why there wasn't a response populating with a rhyme so that I could use it, and that's when I realized, oh, this is how they make it work. I have to find that insult and add it to my repertoire, which is cool, but again, not really well explained. I would say this mod suffers from a lack of explanation on a lot of levels. And finally, the only other thing that I would say is I think that getting another mod is imperative to this, usually a couple of companions. So with the way Skyrim works, unless you download a specific mod to break this, which I don't necessarily recommend because they're not always that good, you can have one follower following around and helping you, like Lydia the Housecarl or whatever. But there are extra companions that people have modded that you can go find. Inigo is one. There's another one named, Bjorn. And these companions, they have dialogue, they have interaction, but they don't count against your follower thing. So they're just kind of programmed to follow you around and do what you say, but they're not actually technically followers. So you can have more than one person following you. I would recommend finding one of these companions, one of these mods that you like, and adding them to the game as well, just so that you have 2 characters to back you up. Yes, it gets a little tight in catacombs, but if you're planning on playing a character who's just playing music without armor on behind them, yeah, it's going to be rough. And I would say right off the bat, just to do the first couple of missions, you're going to want to, like, still load up on the armor and pretend to not be a bard for those missions, or you're probably going to die. Alright, so whether or not I'm going to stick with it, I'm going to stick with it. I love Skyrim. This adds so much to Skyrim. It's really cool. I also downloaded a bunch of other mods with this too. There's a pit fighting mod I want to try as well. Do you guys want to see a review of this? You know, let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to review some more like Skyrim mods. Plus I have all the mods that came with the Anniversary Collection that I'd love to also review. And they're easy reviews. But again, it's low-hanging fruit. So you guys let me know if you want to see stuff like that. Otherwise, you can keep it here. We've got something for you, whether it be TTRPGs or video games. You guys can contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. Influence us in all of our shows from there. As long as you guys keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. See you guys next time. And hang out afterwards if you want to hear the sampling of the music being played and the sampling of the Duel of Wits, if I could manage to put it in.
I hope you're as bad at this as I am. Care to wager? 25 septims seems a fair amount. Let us pray your verses aren't as feeble as your presence. Oh, this isn't what I rehearsed for. Oh, it's my turn. Brace yourself. Your breath could fell a dragon of 50 paces. Looks like I underestimated you. Now it's your chance to strike back if you dare. Oh, that's nothing. Time to show you how it's done. Your features are enough to turn a sweet roll sour. Looks like you're not quite cut out for this dueling business. I've had my fun, now it's your turn. An ironic statement from one who so pathetically squirms. My words are like arrows hitting their mark every time. My turn to take the lead in this little dance. My quips are as finely crafted as an elven blade.
Believe, believe the dragonborn comes.
Is that the best you've got? If so, you're in for a rough time. Neither of us emerged victorious this time, but know that our rivalry is far from over. We will duel again.